Good morning, people of the internet. You're listening to Debi Radio 79.5 FM, a podcast where we discuss the movie Grosse Pointe Blank, 1 minute at a time. I'm Dev.
And I'm Hugh, and on today's show, we're going to be looking at minute 81 of the film. And we are going to start with the entrance to the now mostly deserted reception hall for the reunion ball at the school, the entrance of the ghoul himself, Felix La Poubelle.
And joining us on today's show, we have once again the wonderful Billy Holku, self-professed all-around nerd and a martial artist, which is going to stand him in good stead for these minutes. Welcome back, Billy.
Hey, well, thank you very much, man. It's a huge honor to come back to the show. Yeah, really excited for the next few minutes. Always love Benny the Jet. Big fan of his. Great. Let's get on with this.
Let's start with that then. Let's talk about Benny the Jet, right? Let's start with that because that's the thing. People like you and I know him as Benny the Jet. People who have only seen Grosse Pointe Blank just know him as Felix La Poubelle if they even know his name, but right? So let's tell people who he actually is.
Benny Jet or Benny Urquidez. Hopefully, I think I'm pronouncing that right.
That's correct.
Benny
Yeah,
Jet.
Urquidez. Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, he's a lifelong martial artist as well. Obviously, he's a pioneer in kickboxing, karate in the US. If anybody's familiar with early MMA rules, it was similar to that. He famously, I would say, more worked well with Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, Meals on Wheels, and pretty much playing the same character in Dragons Forever. And for me, when I first saw him, it was in Dragons Forever where he had the deep shark like eye makeup, and just the great gymnastics that he was pulling off, which is pretty much on par with Jackie as well. So yeah, he's been around for, I believe, since the 70s.
Yep.
It was a very, very short film career, but he has been mostly doing background in the choreography. I think the last time I saw him was in the Shannon Lee and Michael Wong movie where Eagles Fly or Eagles Dare.
Oh,
where
wow.
He played like the last henchman.
Right.
A bit of a homage to his earlier works in Hong Kong.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. I didn't realize just how successful he was professionally as an athlete. So according to his wiki page, between 74 and 93, his documented professional record was 49 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw.
1 draw, yes.
35 knockouts.
Yes.
Wow.
And even the loss was more of I think it was a contested one. I'm not quite sure what the details on that was.
Yeah, it says there were two controversial no contests as well. Wow.
Famously, I believe he was challenged by other fighters who he would, and it was after he retired as well. So there's some people. So he rubbed people the wrong way when they said, "Oh, Benny wouldn't fight me." Says, "Well, Benny's like going, well, I retired. I don't really want to fight," or he refused to fight anything where the rules were more favourable to the opponent, such as groundwork or something. He says, "Oh, well, I want to do more kickboxing." Kind of balance it out that way because he's a kickboxer. So yeah, there's lots of background politics in the fight game, but in the end, he's still highly respected as a fighter, as a choreographer. So yeah, if you are a big fan of Benny Jet in this, I suggest go watch Meals on Wheels with Jackie Chan.
Yeah, that's great.
And his other work, Dragons Forever.
Yeah. 2 amazing films, and they've both been reissued now in really, really decent editions. Yes. Spanking new editions from a number of labels around the world. So whichever territory you should have no trouble getting hold of these films in their uncut versions, which is a crucial point, it has to be said. I'm also intrigued by the fact that you were saying that he's gone on to, continue working with stunt work. He's one of the founders of the Los Angeles Film Fighting Institute, which was one of the first schools to teach martial artists how to do stunt work, and that was founded in 2000. So that fascinates me. And apparently, 9 styles he has training in. That's quite impressive. Judo, Kajukenbo, Shotokan, Taekwondo, Lima Lama, White Crane, Jiu-Jitsu, Aikido, and American Kempo.
Yeah, so he had to learn and diversify his styles to bring out more, like to broaden his horizons in regards to choreography as well. So otherwise, it would just be punchy kicky a lot, you know.
I
But
mean, he
sorry.
he also had quite a step up, right? Because he grew up in a family. His mother was a professional wrestler. Like there's a lot of background there to kind of get him into this kind of mode of, you know, father a professional boxer. Just a lot of athleticism and kind of combat in particular in his childhood, I'd assume, as a kid. So I think that helps as well. But
So it's really fascinating to see him in this film because, of course, this is. I think we could say that outside of his Hong Kong work, this is the biggest thing he's ever done, right? And
so I mean, as an as a kind of
as an actor,
actor, yes. I mean, stunts wise, it looks like he and John Cusack had quite an effective relationship. He is also he also does stunts in Con Air, in The Contract, in 1408, all John Cusack movies.
Yeah. So
I believe he's actually John Cusack's kickboxing teacher.
Yes,
right.
That seems to be the connection, and they also founded and ran a gym together for a while.
Okay.
But it closed in 2007. So yeah, very close relationship between these two. Now, my understanding is that Cusack started training well before Grosse Pointe Blank. It was, it was literally a thing he liked to do. It's not, it's as opposed to being, I'm going to get ready for the film. It was genuinely, I like to kickbox, and I want to put that in the film because no one's seen me do it, kind of thing.
It's a very different role for John Cusack at the time, and it's very impressive that what he does that we will discuss when the minute comes over.
So we have Benny walk in, and the lighting's fascinating. I don't know if they intended it or not, but his head and face remain in the shadow even as the light occasionally bounces off his white shirt, and he's got a very, even as the 90s, he looks very 80s. Right, with the hair, the long hair, and the collar. I mean, he looks like he could have walked out of Miami Vice season 4. And he also does that thing where beloved of villains in action films, where he says very, very little, and he lets the other person do all the talking. Right.
I think these are literally his only lines in the entire film.
Yeah, absolutely. And Arlene gets to fill in the air, with her chit chat.
Save a dance for me.
She obviously likes the way he looks when he's walking away. Because that is a thing in this film as well. I do like the fact that the women are a lot more upfront about their desires in this film. Even by 97, you still have some fairly backwards ideas in rom-coms, and I think it's cute that they actually suggest that Debbie's forthright and Arlene is willing to make a comment like this, and who was it we saw earlier, the one Spirecki's interested in, Jenny Slater.
Yeah.
Jenny is completely clear, even if she doesn't use words, but her facial expressions make it absolutely clear what she's not interested in.
I feel like that one actually changes slightly as we go through the film, and it's all secondary shots and stuff. But yes, it's it definitely does have, like, the film has a pretty strong sense of independent women who are kind of in control of their own destiny. Also exhibited in a kind of a career-minded way with Joan Cusack's character of Marcella.
Yeah. And the men, on the other hand, despite their successes, are spiraling out of control.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, it's such an interesting time capsule, this film, in that sense. So precisely picked this moment. Another thing I noticed that's really strange is because Benny's dressed in a dark blue suit, and Arlene is dressed in bright red with bright red lipstick to match it. There is something slightly vampiric about her. Like, people
especially with all the blue tablecloth as well. Like, she's really so much more the focus of this scene than anything else. Like, Benny's kind of hard to see, and without that spotlight really popping off of the polo shirt, or not polo shirt, but the turtleneck, you'd barely notice that he was there.
Yeah, and then we get a big overhead shot of the dance floor.
We do,
and you can spot various characters we've met in as Debbie and Martin have done the rounds of the room, starting to dance like they're 10 years younger. There's going to be a lot of people having aches and pains the next morning, I tell you, at that age.
I mean,
they don't realize.
So I'm actually like kind of stopping on this scene. Arlene Oslott-Joseph is actually dancing.
Oh, is she there now?
She's there now. So she's the one that goes to help Stefano up after
Paul's
he falls. Yeah,
because Paul's behind her.
Yes,
Jenny's over on this side here. Yeah, wow. Oh, wow.
And that is not the way I'd expect Arlene Oslott-Joseph to be dancing, I have to say.
No, that's quite, energetic.
Very energetic dancing there.
I don't think I'd have had that energy in my 30s even. It's great.
I mean, they're 28, right? 28, 29?
Well, yeah, late 20s. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, okay, fair enough. I would have then.
Still, no. Not giving myself whiplash.
You got excuses, man. You got permanent injuries from your sporting career.
Oh, yeah. Way too much.
I am never... Yeah, except when you can take your knee out and put it back in again like you do. Sorry, for the listeners, this is a joke. Poor old Billy is so you do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, is that correct?
Yes. So I used to compete in freestyle wrestling, which is something that you see in the Olympics. You know, I get to wear that beautiful mankini that you see Kurt Angle wear, and also I also compete in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And it's it's a sport where you bend stuff, arms and joints and so on. So something's going to break. So there I was, I was maybe like close to 30 in Brighton, hugging other men on the ground, and my knee popped out, and I had to try and figure out how to get back to London with one leg and half naked. It was all good, all fixed, lots of scars. Nature of the business.
As someone who used to live in Brighton, who's lived in Brighton twice, the fact people definitely do injure themselves wrestling other men of an evening.
It's
a thing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I
mean, you're not a politician, so no. But yes, I also like the way the shot of the ballroom is then contrasted with the way they edit back to the lovers kissing in the corridor. There's a really nice sense. We've talked so often in this podcast about the editing, about Armitage's kind of building of the pieces of the puzzle, and there's something really interesting about having these two demonstrate their intensity of feeling away from the crowd. They have no interest in being down there on the dance floor. They don't care. That's not who they want to be with, and they don't want to show off either. This is not, the couple thing is, so they've already had the mick taken out of them once already about being back together. So I like the way that, and this is all in shadows. It comes back to the noirish thing. This is quite literally, as I've said in a couple of the more recent episodes, this is where the two genres are colliding visually.
Yeah.
The noir lighting is on him and her, even though they're kissing, and that's the rom-com element, and the bright stuff is happening downstairs where they're not, and it's all kind of melting, blending. I wouldn't call it David Lynchian, but it definitely feels like stuff is weirdly happening.
Well, it's all building up now, isn't it? You now have Benny coming in, and as you said, he's all foreshadowed, all dark, and he's this mysterious, clearly dangerous kind of person coming in, and then and then you got the next shot immediately. Everybody's having fun, everything's all bright, and then you got the rom-com element coming in. So it's all coming to a head.
And musically, we have the same thing, right? We have pretty much quiet on those dark sequences, and then loud for the bright ones, right? And it's Matador by Los Fabulosos Cadillacs, which is a band that I've only ever heard of from Grosse Pointe Blank, but it just is the iconic ska band of Latin America. And
wow, I
and
didn't know
so
that.
Okay.
yeah, pretty a pretty impressive catalog. Been playing for quite a lot of years, right? So formed in '85. I think this song was maybe off of their debut album, which was '86. Just checking. No, okay, it may have been one of their later albums. And then have carried on off and on to 2018. So like, a really
Wow.
really sizably long career, and I'm assuming a good chunk of that is touring, although they do have another studio album that came out in 2016. But yeah, a iconic band for Latin America, which I think this is one of those songs where it's may not fit the universe quite as well. I'm not sure this is a band or a musical choice that you'd expect to see at a reunion, even if you were leaning towards that kind of ska demographic. I'd have assumed a few more kind of mainstreamy kind of bands. This seems a little niche, but it works really well. It's a really good tempo, upbeat to kind of party to, for sure.
I mean, it is also kind of interesting because, again, we talked about Joe Strummer and the world music connection, and the way he was among him and Peter Gabriel and others were busy taking their success in the West and using it as a way to open doors for bands from other parts of the world and singers from other parts of the world to come over and record in modern recording settings and have gigs and all the rest of it. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense that that someone like that would be on this soundtrack.
Yeah.
Cool. And so Debbie and Martin are busy in between kissing, are busy trying to, or at least Martin's trying to talk to her in between kissing, very passionate kissing, and he's trying to say, well, what is he trying to say? He's trying to get them out of the school, basically, I guess.
Yeah, so it's kind of like go away somewhere. I think he's got this idea of a kind of romantic getaway for them to rekindle their relationship and not be surrounded by all of this kind of luggage, right, that they're constantly presented with by being around high school friends and family and all of those things. And I think it's just like it's that very real expression of just not wanting this feeling in the moment to end, right? Just wanting to try and preserve that by going somewhere where that's going to be possible. You're not going to be slapped about in the face with real life.
I mean, this is also him. I mean, this is also the thing that they didn't get to do that first time, right? And he's real. I wonder how much of this is him realizing, damn, this is what I walked away from. I need to get, grasp it now with both hands.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's where it's going with it. But yeah, again, as you've said before, Dev, in other episodes, whenever the characters in this film decide to split up, as is traditional in action films, it's never a good idea, right?
Yeah.
So the minute ends with them deciding to go slightly separate directions. Debbie says she's going to go and say goodbye to some people, and we will pick this up next minute.
Sounds good.
All right, then. So this was minute 81 of the Grosse Pointe Blank podcast, Debi Radio 79.5 FM, featuring your co-hosts, co-writers, and co-producers, Dev Soligar and Hugh David.
Today's guest was once again Billy Holku, self-professed all-round nerd and martial artist. Where can we find more about you, Billy?
So you can find me more on my Instagram on Dim Sum Discussions. It's lots of food pics of dim sum, yum cha, Thai Guy, Chinatown. Visit more. It's great. Broaden your horizons on food.
Nice. You can find us at All Good Podcast Players, as well as YouTube, X, formerly known as Twitter, and Spotify. And we are at Debi Radio in all those places, as well as our website, which is debiradio.com. And don't forget to spell Debi, Debi, just like Debbie Newbury in the movie.
And you can talk with us on Facebook listeners group, also called Debi Radio, but this time it is Debi Radio 79.5 FM Fan Club. So once more, that is DEBI Radio.
Sure was clear that all of this was new. Concentrating hard like a little girl, smoking for the first time. It wasn't a moment, it was a feeling.